The branding, a lesson you will want. Just a little background for you so that you know how my wife and I got to where we are today. About a year before our marriage, my wife and I had gotten into a huge argument. She decided to break it off with me. I was still holding hope that we would get back together. She was down on her luck at the time and a single mom of 2 children. So, even after the break, I wanted to show her commitment and help her and her children out. This was my way of letting her know that I was still in love with her. One day I was over at her house and she had left a notebook open that looked like a letter. So, I waited until she left to run an errand and read the notebook. It was a letter to a guy she had slept with not too long after she had broken it off with me. If I recall, she slept with him the day after. This hurt me more than anything. I made it known to her that I read it and explained that I thought it might have been to me. This obviously infuriated her. Also, the guy she slept with was the brother of her best friend. I continued to snoop through notebooks laying around while we were working things out. The next day after finding out that she slept with this guy, before she agreed to work things out, she was driving her children to daycare and her engine caught fire. She called me up at work to come and help her out. I was still very hurt and upset. I told her that she needed to call that other guy to come get her. She told me that he wasn't able to. I told her that it wasn't my problem. Later, while we were working things out, I found another letter to the guy she has slept with. I brought it to her attention. Again, another argument. She told me that she planted the letter in hopes of catching me snooping. Well, we worked things out and I thought I would be able to forgive and forget. We were married almost a year later. Our marriage started a little rocky because she was still going over to her best friend's house and I knew that her brother, the guy she slept with, was living there. This brought back old hurtful feelings in me and we argued about her going over there. I told her that I just knew she was going over there to see that guy. She assured me that she wasn't. I still wasn't convinced and asked her not to go over there without me anymore. Well, after another year, she had gotten a job doing marketing for a local tax preparation office. She became friends with a single male from the other office in town because they worked together in the marketing. Sometimes, they would kick off work and go back to our house just to hang out. Again, I started getting feelings that she was cheating on me. I told her about my suspicions and she got angry again about me not trusting her. Well, me and this guy became good friends and he really stopped being friends with my wife. She believes it's because I told him that I thought he was sleeping with her. I always speak my mind. He didn't take offense to it and was very cool about it. But she feels that he didn't want to be friends with her any longer because of me telling him. I wasn't accusing him. I was just trying to get it off of my chest. Her children were living with their father, and my wife wanted them to come and live with us more than anything. She was out of a job, and I was so far in debt that I ended up having to file bankruptcy. I had told her that we couldn't afford to take care of the children on what I was making and that their father wasn't having as tough a time as we were financially. She didn't care about our finances. She just wanted her children to live with her. She told me that they would be coming to live with us whether I liked it or not. I told her that it wasn't going to happen. We argued for a week over this. I told her that I didn't make enough money to support all 4 of us. Heck, I barely made enough money to support the 2 of us. She wasn't looking at things realistically. I told her that if she was going to bring them down to live, then I was leaving. I wasn't going to bring those children into a house that couldn't support them. She decided to leave and went to stay with her friend from the tax preparation office and his girlfriend. Another few months later and she decided that she was going to do everything her way and that was the way it was going to be. During our argument, this time, she destroyed our DVD shelf out of anger. She has had a habit of destroying things when she is pissed off. I waited until the next day when she left for work. I took all of my collectible items, boxed them up, and took them to my parents' house for safekeeping. She has already proved that she is willing to destroy things. Also, she decided all on her own that her sister would be staying with us for the summer. This was another thing that caused the argument. Well, when she got home from work and found out that I had packed all of my collectibles, she called me to find out what was going on. I told her what I had done and why I had done it. I told her that I was fed up with her thinking that she ran things in our house and I was through with her. I left our house with some things and went to stay with my parents. She called me the Sunday after and wanted me to come home and talk about everything. I agreed to. We talked and it seemed like we had worked things out again. After about another year, I noticed that she was using the computer, internet more than usual. I had known that we were having problems again. She had all of a sudden found a newfound happiness when she hadn't been happy for a while. So, I started snooping again and found that she was talking to a friend from high school. There were some questionable things in the emails back and forth between them, but it didn't seem to cross the line. I installed a keylogger, screen capture program on the computer and monitored their conversations. I later found out that the guy she was talking to be a former police officer that worked with my dad. He was advised to resign his position because he had cheated on his wife. Big no-no for police code of conduct. And had ended in divorce. I was again having feelings that she was cheating on me. I told her this because she was being so secretive and her routines had changed. I also found out that she had met with this guy at her mom's house. Just her. him and their kids, so they could swim in her mom's pool. She told the kids not to say anything to me, because I would get angry. Later, while reading one of her emails, I seen that she was making plans to meet with this guy alone at her mom's pool. I told her mom about it, and she said that my wife did not ask her. So she told my wife she could not come there. So, my wife sent an email to the guy offering to meet at the local lake instead of her mom's pool. He had gotten an injury on the job and could not make it. I ended up talking to this guy, through email. I explained to him that my wife and I were having problems and that I would appreciate it if he would stay out of them. I told him that I feared he and she were having an affair. I asked him how he felt when he found out that his wife cheated on him. My wife was pissed when she found out that I had emailed him. I told her to do me a favor. She agreed. I asked her to ask him why he lost his job on the police force and see if he is honest about it. He wasn't, and she told him that she knew he had to quit because of the infidelity, or risk being fired. He stopped talking to her and then she got pissed off at me. I don't really understand why. Well, she agreed to work things out based on us going to see a marriage counselor. We went to the marriage counselor for several months and it seemed like things were getting better. We had seen that our major issue was communication. She was going to these other guys to communicate her thoughts because she thought I didn't care. And, to her credit, the way that she presented them to me, I felt attacked and jumped on the defensive. So, she was right about me not caring. It seemed like she was making everything out to be my fault. The marriage counselor had seen an improvement with us and decided that we didn't need to come back. She later claimed that she didn't hear him say this, but we always attended the meetings together. There were never any separate meetings. So, feeling like we had what we needed to work things out, we went back to our life a little happier. Things had not been completely repaired, but we were willing to work at it. Or so I thought. We were both told in the marriage counseling that we would still both make mistakes, and we both have. We no longer argued all the time. But when we did, we both put up our defenses and hurt each other. Now, here we are another year later, and I just found out a few weeks ago that she took a day off from work and lied to me about it. I asked her when I got home that evening because some things were out of place. She still held to the fact that she didn't leave work early. I found out a couple of days later, from a mutual friend, that she was over at his house talking with his soon-to-be ex-wife. I confronted her with this and told her that she didn't have to lie to me about it. I wasn't going to be upset. She told me that she talked to her friend about the thoughts she had been having of leaving me. Her friend told her that the grass is not greener on the other side and that my wife needed to think long and hard before she made that decision. Her friend knew from personal experience because she left her husband and slept around. Now, she was sorry she had done it, because she realized that she still loved her husband a lot. And, she had messed things up. I started having feelings that she is cheating on me. I never came right out and confronted her about it. I just told her that something strange was going on. She has started using the computer more often than normal. She gets on it first thing in the morning, 5 a.m., and is on it most of the time that she is at home. I again snooped through her computer and found that she had been browsing Craigslist personals. She had replied to a few of them in our area, Los Angeles and London. She had gotten an email from a guy in Los Angeles asking to trade photos. She sent hers to him and vice versa. We have talked about the problems. Heck, I didn't even know that she was having problems until this. This all came as a shock to me. She is also looking for jobs in Los Angeles and London. She did confirm that she had thoughts of leaving me once she graduated from college and got a decent job. This is in a couple of weeks. I asked her had she made any steps towards setting up a relationship with someone else. Of course, she said no, even though I know that's a lie, according to her email. She is also keeping a journal that I have read. She has written in there things like, how do you tell someone you have been with for 9 years that you no longer love them? She also had entries that spoke of her wanting to move to London as soon as possible. She even has a plan for how and when to do it. And, she has a weird crush on a movie actor that she journaled about as well. She also said that I didn't understand that she wanted to feel the rush of new love again. She wants the I can't wait to see him again feelings. And she doesn't feel that she can ever feel those feelings for me again. She told me that she feels unloved and unwanted by me. So, I decided to start remedying the situation. I wrote her a long letter telling her why I loved her and wanted to stay married to her. She didn't respond. I took her out the other night to her favorite club and bought her a rose while we were there. I even started a love notes journal for her to read. She wrote, in her journal, that she thought the letter and the love notes journal were just pretty words on the page and nothing more. I admit I haven't been the perfect husband and have done things wrong. Sometimes I can be controlling. I have really worked hard at not being this way. We have to talk to each other before we spend any significant amount of money. She decided not too long ago to spend about $300 on makeup and didn't tell me about it. I found out on the monthly statement from the bank and confronted her about it. She had gotten pissed at me. I told her that I wasn't upset about the money. I was upset that she had spent so much without talking to me first. She said she didn't because she knew I would say no. I really don't want to lose my wife. I am still very much in love with her. I just wish the feeling was mutual. I asked what made her fall in love with me. She told me that I used to be more fun and funnier. We have gone now from arguing to just talking with each other. I told her that our arguments never resolve anything. I told her that at least when we talk, we seem to get through to each other better. It doesn't seem like she wants me to get through to her. I'm in a lot of emotional pain right now. I don't know why she has closed herself off so much. She had a very rough childhood, and I think that might play a part in it. She came from a very broken home, but she doesn't want to admit that she has any issues. She says that all of our issues are my fault. I talked to her yesterday and told her that I still feared she was going to leave me. She wanted to know why I thought that. She was trying to get me to confess to snooping in her journal and computer. I never planned to tell her about that. I know that I am wrong for reading her journal and snooping through her email. I told her that it was a gut feeling, which it was more of a combination of reading her journal and looking at that email exchange with the guy from London. She assured me that she was not planning to leave me. She also assured me that she wasn't talking to another guy. Both are lies, and I know that the only saving grace right now is that I know she can't meet the guy, and she is still here with me. I tend to be an impatient person, so I want things to be right between us right now. I know this isn't possible. I can be a realist. I would just really like some advice on what I should do here. Divorce is not an option for me right now. Any help anyone can give would be very appreciated. When I start feeling down about our marriage, I tell her what is on my mind. Should I be doing this, or should we just work on her issues right now? Please help me. I don't want to lose her. I just fear that I might have already lost her. We went to see a licensed marriage counselor for about 6 months last year. The marriage counselor told us that love is a decision. You decide to love the other person regardless of what they do. He also told us that during our arguments, which will happen from time to time, if one of us feels like it is getting too heated, then say that you want to take a break. I had the hardest time doing this. She would just continue to argue. We haven't really had a whole lot of arguments, so I wasn't able to put the advice to good use. Here recently, I've resolved myself to the fact that I am not going to argue at all. I will tell her exactly what is wrong in a calm voice, and, to her end, I will respond in a calm voice to her. Like I said in the original post, this latest set of problems came out of nowhere to me. She never even let me know that she was having problems. She says that she feels unloved and unwanted and that I make her feel that way. I bring home flowers to her when she's had a bad day to brighten her up. She finally told me that she would like to get flowers on normal days too. She says that I don't do anything to show my love for her. So, I have written her a letter and am keeping a journal of love notes for her to read. I just want her to see that I am trying. She told me that, sure, you'll try for a month or so. Then things will go back to the way they are now. I'm afraid that she has her mind made up. Should I be worried that she has made contact with a man in Los Angeles through Craigslist? She has told me that she talks to these other guys because they are just willing to listen. I know that my problem is that, when I listen to her problems, I want to help her fix them. So, I offer advice or a solution. She gets aggravated with me and tells me that she didn't ask for my help. She just wants me to listen. Then, other times, when she is telling me a problem, and I just listen, she gets aggravated because I didn't offer any advice or solution. How am I supposed to tell when she wants my help or not? My major problem is that before we were married, and she broke it off when she slept with her best friend's brother, I felt betrayed and hurt that she could replace me in her bed that quickly. I still felt like she had cheated on me. She doesn't feel that way and never has because she says that we weren't together. Since that time, I have never really had any hard evidence that she has slept with another man. She has had emotional affairs, which still hurt a bit for obvious reasons. But I have never had any proof that she has had a physical affair. It's just that I know emotional affairs lead to physical affairs. I know that if she has a physical affair, I will hate her. If our relationship stays the way it is right now, we both deserve better. I just want to exhaust all possibilities. I've read the 5 love languages, she has also. We talked about what we thought each other's love language was. I told her that my primary was physical touch and that my secondary was words of affirmation. She told me that hers was quality time. When I told her mine was physical touch, she laughed and told me that she knew I would say that because I only cared about bonding. That isn't true, and it hurt a lot to hear her say that. I even told her this, but she didn't believe me. I was put off by her comments. When I would ask her about what she saw as quality time, she told me that she shouldn't have to tell me after being together for 9 years. She also told me that if she had to tell me what they were, when I did them, they wouldn't hold the same meaning. So, I just had to wing it, and I obviously didn't and haven't done the right things. This all happened about a year ago. I guess I just need to be more attentive to her words and pick up on subtle hints. I'm not always the quickest to catch on. I always thought my wife was so much different than other women, but after reading a bit on these forums, it seems that she is really no different than another woman out there. She made a comment this morning that if it appears that her needs change, it's because she changes herself to suit me and make me happy. I told her that I never wanted or asked her to do that. I also told her that we are going to have differences, but that isn't a reason to change who we are. She says that she has changed so much that she doesn't like the person she's become. I'm ashamed that I made her feel that she had to do that to make me happy. My wife and I are having problems. We have had problems for most of our marriage, 5 years. It started with her sleeping with a guy about a year before we were married. We had split up, and she slept with someone. Now, whenever she talks to single male friends of hers, I start to get jealous and suspect she is trying to cheat on me physically or emotionally. I have accused her 4 times since we have been married. I know that it stems from finding out that she slept with another man while we were split up. I just don't know how to deal with it. I wish I knew or someone could give me advice on how to cope with it. I know it wasn't technically cheating, but it felt that way to me. Anyways, I found out about a month ago that my wife has been unhappy, felt unloved, and felt unwanted for most of our marriage. It came out of nowhere. I know she got upset with me when I accused her of cheating, but I didn't know she was miserable. So, we have been talking about it with each other for about a month now. I told her that my feelings of her cheating on me boil down to us not having a great or even good physical life. We have bond maybe once a month after only 5 years of marriage. She told me she was unhappy because she felt like a prisoner. I told her that I never meant to make her feel that way. I can be a controlling person and I recognize and work hard every day is not feel like I need to control her or everything else. Her other problem is that I have snooped in the past and found bits and pieces of emails that looked suspicious between her and other men. Then, I would accuse her of cheating on me. I never snooped before I found a journal with an entry on the guy she slept with. When we were split up, I found this about a year before we were married, shortly after the split up. Then, every time my suspicions are there, I find myself snooping through her personal things such as email, journals, purse, looking for evidence that she is having an affair. I have never found any hard evidence that she was having an affair. Most of the emails have been a little flirty, but nothing major. I just want to know how I can give her that trust back. Things have been going better for us recently. We have been communicating without arguing. She has told me that she no longer has any thoughts of leaving me. I apologized, crying to her, about making her feel like a prisoner and not making her my #1 priority. I told her to give me time to make up for that. She said she would. I told her that if our physical life were better, I would not have those jealous thoughts. She said that if her emotional needs were met, she would be more interested in having bonding more often. So, we agreed that we would work on her emotional needs and hopefully the physical life will follow suit. I explained to her that bonding was not just about a good time to me. It was about the emotional connection with her. When we have had bond over the past year, I must admit that it has felt like a chore and did not last more than a few minutes. I told her the reason for this was because she didn't seem into me, and I would just get on and get off literally. She felt like it was a chore too and agreed with me. I know that we can have an amazing physical life, because we did for years. Even shortly after we were married for about the first 2 years. So, we are going to work on both her emotional needs mainly and my physical needs secondary. I can live without bonding if I have to. There are other things she can do to make me feel loved. We are not cutting it out completely. We are just focusing more on her needs at the moment since she is the one that feels miserable. Other than this, the other thing that has been bothering me is that she has a crush on an actor that seems almost obsessive. She has plastered her laptop and screensavers with his pictures. She spends most of her time on the internet trying to find out every scrap of information about him. When I mention his name, her face lights up. I called her out on it and she told me that her face doesn't light up with joy. It lights up with embarrassment. I told her that her crush was a problem for me, even if the guy is unattainable, because he was taking an important place in her mind, my place. She told me that she fantasizes doing things with him, things that she wants me to do with her. She said that the fantasies are not physical in nature. I told her that they didn't have to be for me to be bothered by them. She removed the pictures from her computer and no longer browses the internet looking up any information she can find. I figure, if I meet her emotional needs, this crush will fade away. Also, she told me that she has changed so much of herself to make me happy, that she doesn't like the person she's become. I asked her why she made changes to herself that she wasn't willing to make. She told me that, because she loved me, and I got aggravated at her over something she did, she would just stop doing or being that way. I told her that I never asked her to change herself in any way. I told her that I married her for who she was. I would never ask her to change herself at all. If I had gotten aggravated in the past over something she did, there might have been other factors that I was aggravated at and she was the straw that broke the camel's back. I asked her to undo the changes she had made, so she can be happy with herself again. I told her that if I had a problem and she felt like she needed to change something about herself, she should stop and think if she is willing to make the change or ask me if I want her to. I told her there was never anything that she has ever done that has made me want to leave her unless it changes, and it would make me happier for her to be happy with herself. I also told her that I would try not to turn my anger towards her if other things are aggravating me. Lastly, and sorry for the long writing, but I started bringing her home little things for no reason. Stuff that makes her feel special. She initiated bonding one night when I did this. I felt I had to tell her that I wasn't doing these things expecting bonding from her. She said that she didn't think that. She was just in the mood to sleep with me that night. Also, I am keeping a journal of love notes that I leave out for her to read. I try to do this every 2 or 3 days. Then, yesterday I asked her if she wanted to write down what we felt the other person has done to make us happy and also the things they have done that upset us. She thought I meant keeping a scorecard. I told her that she writes the things that I have done and I write the things that she has done. Then we can talk about them in a week so that neither of us feels like we are the only one putting in all the effort to make this work. She agreed to do this and thought it was a great idea. When she told me that she removed the pictures from her laptop, I did tell her that she didn't have to do that to make me happy. I forgot to mention that in the beginning. I told her that if she removed them, I wanted her to do it on her own terms, not mine. Also, I never thought about having the opportunity to have slept with someone else. You are right, I would have probably done the same thing if I felt it was truly over. Maybe that's where I screwed up. I didn't think of it from her perspective or put myself in her shoes. I'm sure the fling was probably just to make herself feel better about us splitting. I seem to recall her telling me at the time that she was thinking of me the entire time during sleeping with this guy. I just remembered that. At the time, it was hard to hear from her. My wife and I have been having a lot of problems in our marriage lately. When we talk, or argue, about things we only seem to care about our own problems in the marriage and not the other's problem. I have done a lot of thinking in the past few days and remembering things that were talked about when we went to marriage counseling. Obviously, the marriage counseling didn't do us any good because we are on the cusp of a divorce. But there was one thing we talked about that came back to my mind, and that was about love. We were told that love is a decision. We decide daily that we are going to love our spouse. That is, we are going to do things for our spouse. Out of love, not necessarily because we have an in-love feeling. In-love feelings come and go throughout a marriage. What holds them together is the decision to love the other person regardless of how they make you feel or what they do for you. When you first start dating a person, you get that in-love feeling, and almost everyone at the time thinks that feeling will sustain them in their marriage to that person for the rest of their lives together. Because of the in-love feeling, you are able to overlook little things about that person that would normally annoy you. You do everything you can for that person, just to sustain that feeling. The problem is that feeling fades with time and you are left to work at loving that person. That's why everyone says that marriage is work. This is where I think most marriages end. One of the two, or both, thinks that once that in-love feeling passes, the relationship is over with. This is an immature view of relationships and probably the primary reason that marriages dissolve quickly. You can go to any person that has ever initiated a divorce and ask them what their primary reason for divorcing their spouse was. And I will guarantee that they will say that they fell out of love with that person. I know there are marriages that should dissolve, such as those that involve meds and etc. But for the ones that don't, I am sure that you will find the marriage dissolved because at least one person fell out of love with the other. Take my mother-in-law for instance. She has been married 12 times. She has finally settled down with a man and has been married to him longer than any other. She has finally figured out that the in-love feeling will not sustain any relationship forever. She knows now that she has to make a decision to love her husband regardless of what he does for her or how he makes her feel. My last thought before closing is that both people have to make the decision to love the other person. If the husband and the wife don't make the same decision, it will end quickly. The one who made the decision will soon feel unloved because the other is not reciprocating. Married people need to realize that, although their love started as a feeling, it will only be sustained with a decision to love the other person. This, I think, is the ultimate realization in marriage. Now, I hope I can talk to my wife about it and explain it as good as I did here. My wife and I are in a rut currently because I didn't realize what love meant until recently and how to apply it. I started taking my own advice recently and, while things are not where I would like them, my wife has responded. I used to ask her if we were all right in our marriage. I have found out that if I make the decision to love her, then I won't need to ask her that. It will show in how she responds. And I have noticed little things she has done. Just yesterday, we met for lunch and she suggested eating Mexican. Now, I know she despises authentic Mexican food, so she did this out of love for me. So far, my recent revelations are bearing results. 3 years later, I found out yesterday that my wife cheated on me during the first year of our marriage, when we were having an argument and she went to stay with a friend. She slept with this friend and I had suspected they had slept together for many years of our marriage. Something just didn't seem right between the two of them. Whenever he introduced a new girlfriend to us, she was overly critical of her, to the point of sounding jealous. Whenever I would confront her about it, she would get pissed at me and tell me that I don't trust her and that nothing was going on and nothing had ever gone on between the two of them. My comment, Part 2 ending coming in a few hours. This is a short series. Hope you guys are learning something so far. And we will find out the ending of this marriage very soon.